Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. It is Sunday, 28th June 2026. It's about just a little bit after 6 p.m. India time, and we are back with the not golden, the global market review and a quick review about what the equity markets across the world have been doing. Later on, we will also do a bullion review, and along with that, maybe an energy review, and definitely the India market review. So thank you for listening in. And strict disclaimer, this is not financial advice. These are just observations and analysis done for the purposes of information and education only, right? So thank you very much. And well, as we speak, Trump and Iran are at it again. On Sunday, there is again some crossfire happening between Iran and the US. And well, Donald Trump threatens to annihilate Iran after crossfire over Hormuz, and Iran put some drones into Bahrain and Kuwait. So ceasefire is tenuous at best, and is it going to hold or not? While Iran has apparently said it'll be a complete halt to all negotiations, etc. Right? So, for all the, let's say, relief and some amount of calm that happened in the last week or 2 weeks, there is absolutely no clarity or certainty that the ceasefire is going to remain, and things could improve from here on. Well, so having said that, just to put context, and the other big context, of course, for those of us who follow this, is the record temperatures across Europe. Germany had 41.6 degrees, never had that ever before happened. And that's one thing that is definitely something of a concern. So climate change definitely, here to stay. You can't really ignore it anymore. What happens after this? Does any serious intervention happen? Is there a change in the public mindset in what the governments do, etc.? No idea. Here in India, we'd be like 40, okay, what are you cribbing about? But there's a whole set of a few 100 million people in the Middle East sorry, what am I saying? In Europe that are just not used to these sort of things. Even news about some families or parents rather checking into air-conditioned hotels in the UK and across Europe just to protect their children from these, extraordinary temperatures. So that's one thing. And of course, the sad earthquake in Venezuela with the toll continues to rise, 1,400 and a lot more unaccounted for. Okay, so with that in the background, let's now jump into what the markets are saying. And as usual, we start with the Dow Jones index and then go down to the rest of the world. I'm going to make this sort of quick and fast so that we just get a good idea of where the whole world is. So jumping in, this is as of close on Friday, 26th June. The Dow Jones showing some sort of a topping out pattern, right? So a bit of a warning sign. And again, with what's happening with the geopolitics in the Middle East, there could be a pause here. You have a shooting star candle there on the daily chart on Thursday. A lot of dojis happening in the last 1 week. So the rally that has been there going on for quite some time, and definitely after the Middle East ceasefire was sort of announced, could be something for a surprise on Monday, tomorrow. Even the Dow Jones average. Now, this is something to definitely pay attention to, that you have a sort of tweezers top, double top happening in the Dow Jones average. So this is something to be kept in mind around 16,800. Let's see how that pans out. On the SPX, interestingly, and on the Nasdaq, as you will see, right? You have something else which is in terms of on the daily chart, head and shoulder top that has formed, right? Pretty textbook, as real as it can get, and that's the neckline, sort of broken down, recovered, but not made a higher top. So that's a bit of a concern. And what happens next? And if you look at the NDX, the Nasdaq, which is the tech-heavy stock. So we'll probably do another separate webinar on AI related stocks. A lot of corrections have been happening and volatility has set in across the world, whether it's US or in South Korea or in Taiwan, amongst the top AI stocks, whether this is just a temporary phenomenon and they continue to rally, or is the bubble, AI bubble, as many people are saying, getting a little shaky and something to be clear about. And if you are invested in it, maybe look at booking profit. So we'll do that separately. But NDX definitely showing a lot of volatility, and so is the SPX 500. Like I said, both are showing sort of head and shoulder top formations with the NDX neckline. So that'll be something to watch out for. And like I said, with all this Middle East thing again heating up and boiling up, we'll see how that moves. The Russell 2000, which is the broad basket in the US, that's really pretty okay, and not really showing any weakness as of now. Right, a lot of the non-IT stocks and the non-AI related stocks are actually quite okay and doing quite fine. Right. Right. Then coming to, well, their cousin up north, or well, 51st state, depending on who you want to listen to. Canada still doing quite well, and it's done really well for an economy which is slowing down, and it's in a technical 2 quarters recession with uh, negative growth. But as far as the stock market is concerned in Toronto, it is quite bullish and keeping its head quite well up. So if you are in the Toronto market, well, good for you. Congratulations. Coming to Europe, the biggest economy, DAX, well, that's definitely sort of in a pause in the last 2 months, going a bit sideways. And again, you can see this sort of double top formation that we already spoke about in the Dow Jones, right? Yes, right. There it is, just as a reminder, right? So that is seeing in the across the pond, as they say in Germany, sort of even a double or triple top, you could say. Definitely going sideways, and the bullishness that you see in North America is definitely not there across Europe. This is CAC France, and that's also clearly going sideways. You can see this in this bottom left chart, which is the weekly chart, right? Not much of a trend here, definitely more a sideways trend. And if you look at UK, the FTSE 100 seems to form some sort of a symmetrical triangle, right? Again, consolidation going on, not necessarily a correction, but Europe could perhaps move up further once this consolidation phase is over. Coming to Nikkei, which has done impressively well with an 80% rise since July of 24, right? 25, 26, almost 2 years. That's exceptional. But you're seeing a bearish divergence on the daily chart, plus some amount of volatility, a lot of deep cuts that have happened. So you had a 3.5% cut on the index, and then on Friday, you had a 4.15% cut on the index. So the technology related AI heavy stuff and other things are definitely showing up across the Japanese market. Coming to Australia, as you can see here on the left side, gone sideways since August 25, so almost into August 26 now. So 1 year of a sideways movement, not much to say there. I'm sure there'll be individual stocks that are doing well, but nothing on the index level. Um, China or the Shanghai Stock Exchange Friday down 2.2%. I'm not sure what triggered this, right? Well, as you can see, as far as the news feed goes, you're talking about an AI sell-off that's affecting across the world. So the AI sell-off obviously started in the East rather, China, Hong Kong, Japan, and then has moved on to the US. Simply the time zones, that is what we are talking about. So the AI concerns are pretty global. AI plus robotics, etc., is what you would be looking at China for. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange has been doing pretty badly, right? It's just been correcting quite a bit from 26,600 in May to at the end of June 22,600. That's 1,000 point cut that we're talking about. And if you look at the chart, it's just been, down for several days. A little bit oversold as far as the daily chart is concerned. Maybe a bounce back on Monday or in the coming week, but essentially it's been sideways for well since 2007. Really incredible, almost 11 years of 10 years of sideways movement. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? 20 years, right? 19 years of sideways movement and no major trend moves as far as the Hong Kong exchange is concerned. Still, keep a watch. There would be a time when some sort of huge move happens, like you saw in the Nikkei, 80% move in 2 years. When that consolidation in Hong Kong gets over, not sure when that will happen, but we are going to keep tabs, right? Singapore, on the other hand, is going life high, right? It's just booming. Looks like a lot of money has been moving into Singapore. Um and the Singapore economy, small one, relatively speaking, but well, the economy and the market definitely looking bullish. Will be affected with the AI concern. And if you especially look on the monthly chart, that RSI is really, really high for an index at 81. This is not something that is really sustainable and at some point is going to correct. But as of now, yeah, Singapore is definitely outperforming. The market of concern is South Korea and Taiwan. So South Korea had a circuit breaker on Friday, 20 minutes halt in trading because some of the leading stocks closed down, but mostly the index was down significantly and there was a halt to trading. Well, uh, after having this volatility in the beginning of June and then this huge minus 10% move in one day on Tuesday, right? There was some relief rally, but clearly now you can say that the trend is over, and there is definitely a lot of concern, and profit booking probably has set into the market. And if you look at this, uh, so you can see a clear bearish divergence, which is there both, especially on the daily chart, but also definitely on the weekly chart, right? So the warning sign has been there for at least a good 1 to 1.5 months. Those who are astute would have taken note of it. Well, otherwise, we're looking at things not really doing well. This is the Taiwan exchange. Well, TSMC is the big guy there. In South Korea, it is Hynix and Samsung, right? And here in Taiwan, it is the TSMC. And that was down 3.6%. just on Friday, and I think a lot more correction. Again, you can see the divergence, clear bearish divergence, which is there, and a much more substantial correction, simply technically speaking, could happen. And could we see the Taiwan market at around 40,000, which is a good 10% fall, further fall from where we are right now, right? Okay. Um, Moving on to, there's not much happening in many of the other markets. Just to quickly finish what's happening in the Middle East, right? Because of the war that is going on there, it looks like less of a war and more like a, war of, not, it's not a war, it's just like an attrition game that's going on. And clearly, it's amazing that Iran has been able to hold off America's and Israeli assault for so long. um, but if you look at what's happening, and this is the weekly chart, we've been saying this for many months now, that the Saudi exchange has been very resilient in spite of the conflict, and continues to be resilient. And it has been in this sideways move right from way before the conflict, also from June 25 onwards. And it continues to be in this consolidation zone, right? Uh, Not the same thing one would say for um, Abu Dhabi exchange, that fell clearly quite a bit upon the start of hostilities. And you can see a sort of double top there, right? And big drop. And then there was this relief rally that happened after the ceasefire announcement. But again, we'll have to see how this happens next coming week. As we speak, actually, uh, Friday, I think they're closed, Sunday. Um, Stuck and having support with the long-term moving averages. So that's a bit of a point to look at. And whether this will hold or not, looks like with the Middle East the way it is, things it's better to play safe. But again, in the Dubai financial market, again the same issue, and you actually have a tentative uptrend, if one may say so, which is there. And whether this uptrend can continue and hold or not is the big question. Of course, if you look at the Abu Dhabi exchange, it's more like would say a double bottom that has been formed. Uh, Dubai doing better with a higher bottom, right? And then coming across to the Qatar exchange, well, just gone sideways and really nothing happening there. And Qatar is a market where I'm not even sure if they really care about what's happening in their stock market. If you look at what it's been doing here, really been mm, sideways for like literally since 2005, right? Really not gone anywhere. And we'll just have to see how this pans out, right? The rest of it is Southeast Asia and South America, really not much happening there. So to sum it up very quickly, um, the Dow Jones, though not in a corrective mode, the shooting star to be taken note of, the S&P and the Nasdaq both with head and shoulder tops. So take a note of that. If that breaks down, uh, then uh, probably a 3 to 5% correction is quite likely. Russell 2000, the broad market seems to be still holding out, and that's okay. Europe just going sideways for the last 1 year or so. And Nikkei, the big brother, big market there. Bit of a small correction, perhaps, may not. But after an 80% rally in 2 years, you never know. You could see some amount of time consolidation, at least, if not a price consolidation. And then, like I said, both KOSPI, that is South Korea, and Taiwan are the places to watch, especially other than US AI stocks, to see how this correction in the AI may or may not pan out in the coming weeks. Right. All right. With that, we come to the end of the global market review. Hope it was useful and insightful. Um, Thank you for participating, and definitely look forward to your inputs and feedback. You have the contact information on the screen, right? Have a good week ahead. Makari Maka.